I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Stuff and Waffle. Two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling with frequent reference to Bond cars.
We have once again reached one of those points where a decision has to be made.
I see. When you say we, do you mean you and me?
No, I mean, well, you'll no doubt offer an opinion, but
always got one.
Always, but no. My household here.
I see.
It was MOT time for the Puma end of last week.
Right. I see where this is going.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Like the parchment you received back.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a huge list.
I suppose short and sweet.
Yeah.
Less on sweet.
Yeah. Lots of use of the word corrosion and structural and things like that. Yeah. Words like that were used liberally. And lots of sucking of teeth and a lot of work to put that right, mate, and that sort of thing.
I see.
Yes. It's quite bad, apparently. So that is currently off the road. And we're awaiting some numbers to see what we might be looking at to put it right and decide whether that can happen or not. But it is substantially worse than last year, by all accounts. They need to do some exploratory work to get a sort of full picture of what's happened. They need to take off some of the covers from underneath, take the seats out, take the carpets out, and just really have a good poke about and see what's going on there. But initial inspection as per the MOT, not good.
Right. So I see where this decisions must be made comment comes from.
Well, we need some numbers, obviously, but obviously there is a limit to how much money we're prepared to pour into it.
Yeah. Okay, then. So, but the car's back with you.
Car's back with us because the garage couldn't do any more for the moment anyway, even if we'd said, crack on, fix it all, whatever it costs, which obviously we're not going to say. But even if we had said that, they can't do it yet anyway. It would be the end of November before they could get to it. If we took it to the garage to do the MOT, obviously we don't have to.
Got options.
Its MOT has now expired, so it would need to be driven to an appointment.
That could be easily arranged.
Absolutely. So it is off the road for the moment, whilst we see what's what.
Okay, then. So what immediately leaps to mind there is saying they need to do some exploratory work. It sounds like you could probably save your wallet a little bit if we started to take the interior to pieces, for instance.
Well, Phil has suggested the same thing and said we could soon have the interior out of there and have a look at it and see what's what. I think if we can get some ballpark numbers from the garage that's looked at it as to what it might cost to put it right, then I think we'll make a decision as to whether doing anything with it at all is worth our while.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a very sensible way of tackling it. You got get sort of surplus interior out, be it carpets, door cards, paneling, rear seats, all of that out.
I mean, it's quite a simple car, really. There's not a lot to it.
But you think, well, however, if that's an hour or two's work, that's an hour or two's work you don't have to pay them to do. You can just drive it to them and then look at it and go, right, this is how much it costs without you having to spend money on finding out how much it would cost.
Yeah, indeed. So it's a shame, but not a total surprise.
No, but it could work out.
What they're like.
It could be feasible.
Well, we don't know, because this is the first time we've used this garage. We don't know what they necessarily mean by a lot of work. I mean, it needed, 250 quid's worth of welding to get through last year's MOT. To them, is that a lot of work, or are they, what are we talking? Are we talking 300 quid here, or are we talking $3,000? I don't know. Obviously one of those we might be prepared to do, the other we wouldn't.
Yes, quite. But okay, it doesn't sound like it's a complete and utter write-off at present.
Not at this stage.
I've got a new socket set, so I could really have that interior in pieces in no time at all.
Give you an excuse to bust out the tools.
I'd like that.
Yes, indeed. So maybe, it's been tucked away on the premises here, and we'll awaiting a decision as to what we might do with it. But it wasn't a total shock.
No, not at all. How much space have you got left in the garage at the minute if we were to take some interior bits out and store them?
None at all. But what we do need to do is hire another little van and get rid of some furniture bits and bobs that are in there, which will free up quite a bit of space. So
okay, that's fine.
That's something I'll probably do next week, because I'm taking some time off next week for half term. So
fine.
I will probably hire a van. I only need a little one, and get rid of. There's a sofa and some other bits and pieces in there that can just go to the tip. So that'll free up quite a bit of space in there. So yes, there's no space at the moment, but there will be in a minute.
Oh, okay, fine. Then I'm more than happy to whip round over a weekend and just make your life easier to go and deposit it at a garage and see what they think.
Yeah, well, certainly, as you say, if we were going down that route, anything we can do to keep the labour bill down.
Yeah.
And it's not a complex vehicle, so. And we'd get a pretty good idea ourselves by doing that, probably. We do that. We say, "Oh dear, no, that's bad, isn't it?"
Yeah, if we take the carpet out and you can see the floor, I'm not a mechanic, but not brilliant. But
it will tell us something, that, won't it? Yes, indeed. So we'll see. That's a possibility.
It'll give us a bit of content as well, so that never hurts.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
Yes, there is that.
Yeah. Let's
fell through the floor.
Could happen.
No, I don't think it's that bad, but it's a shame, but it's what those cars are like, isn't it?
Okay, well, let's stick that in as a plan. I know I'm not part of your household, but it feels like a decent starting point to give you in your household the best opportunity to make a decision. Let's go.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll park that for a minute and see what's what. But that's a possibility. Yeah, that we could do that. And see what's what. So the Jag goes into the garage tomorrow. See if we can track down what's making the funny noise from underneath.
Suspected exhaust shield or something like that.
Or the catalytic converter shield is what they reckoned online. Popping that in there tomorrow for them to have a look at that. And hopefully they can just tighten up some nuts, and that'll all be sorted.
Lovely. Okay, well, that should be a fairly straightforward one.
We will see. I discovered earlier, slightly irritating, that I don't have a locking wheel nut key for it. There isn't one in the car.
Piss.
Yes, because I thought, well, just in case they want to, pop a wheel off, I'll get that out and just put it in the front for them, and then that's nice and easy. Nope, nowhere to be found. There isn't one, and of course, because it has aftermarket alloys on it, they're not the standard Jaguar locking wheel nuts. I've no idea what they are. Yes. So whether they can be removed by force, I don't know. we'll have to see.
My ones on the Volvo, deteriorated, and he was so cross, the mechanic. He said they all do it. They had to weld a nut onto it.
Oh yeah, I've seen that done. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then turn it through that. Yeah.
So they did that. I said, like, right, I apologize for that, but I said, I mean, corrosion's not entirely my fault. So
it does go on. Yeah.
No, I just said to him, look, I will pay you to do all 4 because I do not have a welder. So
no, can't do that on the driveway.
No, so just do that and put normal nuts on them. So I have not had locking wheel nuts on that for years.
No, I wouldn't bother, but it has them on now, and I don't have the key for them, and I don't know what they are. So I've looked up what the standard Jaguar ones are for that car, and it's completely different. So they're not the factory ones.
No.
So I don't even know for certain what the wheels are. I've got an idea from the research I've done as to what make they are, but of course the nuts don't necessarily come with the wheels.
Yes. Well, maybe worth a question to the mechanic tomorrow.
I thought I'll get them to look at that whilst they've got it, and just see if because if I've got a puncture at the moment, I am knackered because I can't get the wheels off. Yeah. I've got a spare. There's a spare wheel in it, but no way of attaching it.
Yeah, there's no point in tempting fate. If it's going to a garage tomorrow, get their opinion, see if they think it's even vaguely standard. If not, maybe just bite the bullet and get them to do it.
I'll just get them to get them out and just put standard bolts in and be done. I'm not bothered about someone nicking the wheels. That seems very unlikely. Just why have the fuss of locking wheel nuts on them these days?
Quite. Yeah, it's the same thing on one go. Right, if you've got a really expensive set of wheels, then by all means have a locking wheel nut. But if they're just boggos, no point. No one cares.
No, exactly. Well, these aren't original to the car anyway. So, I'll get them to look at that tomorrow. But yes, that goes in for a little while tomorrow. See if they can sort a couple of bits out. Apart from that, all is well.
Lovely. That's all right then. Yeah. Loose shield. That's not the end of the world.
No, it doesn't do it all the time, and it's only at sort of certain revs that it seems to sort of get a bit of a resonance going. It's nothing major. It's certainly you can't feel any vibration through the wheel or anything like that, and it certainly isn't affecting performance. I suspect it's just a loose something somewhere. But of course, much easier to see if they've got it up on a ramp. So.
Yeah, it's trickier on the driveway in that one.
It is a bit, so get them to do that. So yes, that's tomorrow's little excursion.
Yeah, very good. So it's all go in your house.
So just a little update on the automotive situation here. Yes.
Okay. And just to sort of neaten it all up, I've got nothing to report on my vehicles.
Excellent.
Barely used.
Well, you took the Volvo back. I assume all was well.
It's it's had some trips. It's fine. I made it to and from where I needed to be. So yeah, excellent. I'll consider that a success.
I think that's a win. Yes.
Yeah. I suppose that brings us on to a promised topic from last week.
Yes, we have actually prepared something this week.
Yeah,
yes.
We said we were going to do a little. Well, there were 3 things, but we all knew we were going to pick the pre-50s car because it was the quickest and easiest.
You probably
I wouldn't actually, probably not easiest. I wouldn't go with that.
No, probably not easiest because it's very much out of our area. It's not an era we're particularly familiar with.
No, it isn't. But I have ended up with a list.
As have I.
I've got 7 cars.
Yes, I've got 6 plus a sort of honourable mention, so I suppose I've got 7 as well, really.
Oh, okay, that's all right then.
Yeah.
I don't think it's probably going to be our most long-winded sort of topic because while I've researched it and figured out sort of which cars I think and the years to make sure it fits, I don't know a huge amount about them on top of that.
No, I don't. I've done some research on each. A couple of them I knew something about anyway, but the others I didn't. And I've done some research, so I've got some bits and pieces. But yes, I I don't think any of them were good. One of them I could go on a bit about, but the rest of the list probably not.
No.
But that's okay.
The way I've done it is I've got my sort of bulk of the list in no particular order. I already know which one I'm picking.
Mine are not in any particular order, and I also know which one I'm picking, and it's the one I thought of last week, right at the beginning, that you didn't guess correctly.
That's it. Yeah, I said I'd guess it off air and didn't, and
you were wrong. Yes,
I'm surprised my guess was not correct.
Your guess is on the list, but it's not the one that I'm choosing. No.
Okay, so what I would like to do then, let's not dilly dally. Let's let's
not do that.
So right, my first one, bit of a little Bond nod on this one. I only thought of earlier actually, but I'm first one on the list. Going, it interests me, but I probably wouldn't pick it ultimately. But it's a really interesting car.
Yeah.
Citroen Traction Avant.
Oh, that is a good choice. That's a very good choice. I know exactly the one you mean. Very popular with French law enforcement.
Yes. And, in terms of the Bond reference, a bit of From Russia with Love.
From Russia with Love, yes, absolutely. Yes, driven by some Bulgarian agents, I seem to recall.
Yeah.
Yes, a black. Well, they all were black, I think, weren't they? The black Citroen.
I believe so.
Yes. They didn't refer to it as a Traction Avant in the movie. They just referred to it as a Citroen, a black Citroen.
Yes, they did. And he quoted the registration plate.
Registration number, which I'm ashamed to say I don't know.
Yeah, the number escapes me.
Yes.
Well, that's all right. At least we're honest.
Yes.
But yeah,
I think it might have begun with an H, but I'm not certain about that.
Not sure. That's fine. Yeah, and I thought it's quite a classy looking thing. I was going,
yeah, quite low for a car of that era. And the doors that didn't quite meet in the middle and things like that. Yeah.
And the engines in those became famous, didn't they? They got used for decades.
Oh, they went on and on and on with those. Yeah.
Am I right in thinking it's the same engine that ultimately ended up in the Citroen DS as well?
I was just going to say that. I believe that's true. Yes.
Oh, there you go. So
yes,
I would say significant vehicle then.
Oh, very much so, and built in enormous numbers. It was, I believe, their most successful car to that point, by some margin.
But that's kind of where my knowledge runs out.
That's all she wrote.
Yeah. Yes. So
no, it's a good choice. It's a good choice, definitely. I hadn't considered that, but it's a very good choice. I could have had that myself.
Go on, then. What did you have?
Well, I've gone mainly British and American on the theory that you would probably go German and Japanese, although you have indeed started with French, so that's okay too.
I don't have a German or Japanese car on the list. There you go.
Ah, that's interesting, because there was one
Sorry, no, I do have German. Of course I do, dumbass. Ignore that. No Japanese, though.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't. I think I could possibly hazard a guess at what that might be, but I'm not going to at this stage. Well, I'll get it away up front then. The car that you suggested might be the car that I was going to choose, and although it's a close run thing, it's not. The Jaguar XK120.
Yeah, I was staggered that wasn't your choice.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one, but no, 1948. So it fits in with our
it sneaks in
time
there.
Scale. 3.4 straight 624.6 miles per hour, the fastest production car in the world at the time.
Yeah. And I deliberately left it off my list because I knew you'd have it. So
it had to be there.
And I thought if there is any crossover on our lists, I'm not going to do it on purpose.
No, that's fair enough. No, that's fair enough. Don't know a huge amount other than that. Sir William Lyons, apparently personally tested the prototype at Silverstone himself, and topped out at 120 miles per hour.
Did we fact check the little nugget that I thought I knew? That the first production model was sold to Clark Gable? Was that nonsense?
I didn't, to my shame. Let me just check that now.
Because we do like a movie reference or movie actor reference.
Well, I would say not, because apparently I've just found Clark Gable's XK120 was for sale a little while ago, and his was a 1952.
Oh, well, that's then.
So it couldn't have been one of the first ones, no. Or the first one.
That's 4 years out. No, nonsense. Yes. Take it away.
So, yes, he had one, but it was a few years into production, so no, it couldn't have been the first one. Unless he had more than one. I suppose that's possible. But
okay, no, that's fine.
Seems unlikely. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, there we are. Really, like all the best things, apparently wasn't even an official project to begin with. It sort of started, in the back rooms, and Sir William Lyons saw it and said, "That's brilliant. We need to work on that." And that's what came out.
Oh, so very good.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I've got another one on my list, which I've got nothing in terms of sort of facts on it.
Okay.
Other than I know it exists, I know it fits in the time frame, and I quite like the look of it. There's a lot of this of just going, I like how it looks.
Yeah, I've got a couple for that reason as well. Yes.
The sort of mid-30s MGF type.
Ooh. Oh, classic. Yeah. I'm just going to look that up.
They made one that was called a Magna, which was really quite a cool thing.
Yeah, I've just got a picture of that. Yes.
It doesn't get more traditional sort of classic sports car in your head of that era. It looks how I think it should look, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 1931 to 1932. Yes. Well, that's a lovely little thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Tiny little thing, really, as well.
Yeah. Well, they were, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm afraid I got not a lot on it, other than it was an inline six, very low capacity. But just lovely thing.
That's lovely.
But again, you can see we're out of our comfort zone. No sod all about it.
That's it, really, isn't it? It's all you got. But there it is. Yeah, good choice. Classic. Yeah. Good choice. Well, they're all classics, I suppose. But yes, good choice. Yeah, I like that.
What you got for me?
Okay, sticking British with this one.
Oh, nice.
And I have gone with 1948. What was originally known as the Aston Martin 2-litre.
Got this one.
Got the DB. What later became known as the DB1.
Okay, I'll cross that off my list.
Yes. Originally known as the 2-litre Sports. But it was the first car produced under David Brown's ownership of the company, so it later became known as the DB1.
That's fine. And like I said, I had that on my list. It was unavoidable.
Yes. It was
glorious thing. Really nice.
Yeah, and ran all the way up to 1940 or late 1949, the DB2 being launched in May 1950. So fits nicely into our time frame.
Yeah, it does. And really elegant thing.
Incredible looking through those sweeping wings. Yeah, it is a good looking thing.
But then, am I right in thinking? Hang on, let me just check. It was before the inline six became a thing. I did look this up, and it was a 4-cylinder.
I don't have that detail, but you're probably right. I'm presuming, given that it was in the name, it's 2-litre.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes,
It gives it away massively, really.
The 2 litre Sports. Oh, I nearly went wrong there. Just trying to see.
Lovely.
It was actually a 1.97 litre, but they rounded up. 90 brake horsepower. It's quite a lot for then.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
There was, because when flitting around doing the research, the photos, you normally end up on a bit of Wikipedia just for getting some stats.
Yeah, it's good for just collecting facts, isn't it? Yes.
But the photograph on there is appalling.
It's terrible. It's really dark.
Yeah, and it's not a brilliant color of car.
No, it's a green. Yeah.
But if you go off and do some Googling, you find some much better shots.
Much better pictures. That's a terrible photo. Yeah.
But yeah, okay then. Right. So my list has become 6.
Yes. No, well, there was bound to be a double. Wasn't there?
Right.
Yeah,
okay then.
Bound to be a double.
I'm fairly confident you probably won't have this one.
I'm fairly confident you haven't got any of the rest of mine, but yes, let's see what's what here.
I have picked an Alfa Romeo 6C 2500 Super Sport.
I almost had that and left it alone.
You almost had that to that level of sort of specificity.
No, I think I stopped at 6C. I didn't go beyond that.
No, I pinned it down to that. I think you need to really hone in and double check what I've picked there.
Okay, I've forgotten what you said now.
6C 2500 Super Sport, or 2500, however they say it. This probably sounds even better in Italian.
I would imagine. Yeah, they wouldn't have said it like that. Yeah.
No.
There we go. Got it. Oh my. Yeah, oh yes. Okay.
That's a thing, isn't it? Look at that.
Yeah, it's actually very modern looking for the time.
Gorgeous.
Very modern looking. Yeah. I'd say that's. I don't know. Oh, it's neck and neck with the SK120 on our current list.
It's in it nice.
Yeah, that is lovely.
And that had quite a long production run. That particular sort of variant of the 6C. It was 1938 to 1952, and if we are going on movie references, Rita Hayworth had one.
Of course.
And there was apparently one in The Godfather.
Oh, I could see that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very Godfather-y car, isn't it? Yes. Pretty car.
Yep. 2.5 litre inline 6.
Oh,
I bet that sounds amazing as well.
Yeah.
That's lovely. That's the thing. Is going. That's up there for utterly stunning. That one.
Do you know? I think that's better looking than the Jag.
Yeah. I don't think I could argue with you on that.
I think it just edges it. I'm not saying the Jag's an ugly by any means, but I think that edges it. Yeah, that's lovely. Excellent.
Yeah, I thought I did well there. I know I'm praising myself, but I just I was very, very pleased with that as a choice.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one. Interesting that you should mention a Hollywood reference there.
Okay.
Because my next one has a movie reference as well.
Go on then.
And I am going here for the 1949. So only just in our it's on 1949 Buick Roadmaster.
Okay, I think I know what this is, but I'm just going to double check. Yes.
5.3 litre V8. They did it as a convertible as well, but I'm specifically looking at the hard top. And its movie reference was that it was Tom Cruise's car in Rain Man.
Yep. I was just going to say that.
5.3, definitely 5.3.
Yes. Well, yeah.
And I picked it for no other reason other than I just think it looks brilliant.
It does. It's got that it's that American excess that I would probably more attribute to the cars of the 50s, but this was stuck in there at a 40s car.
The American design at this time, I think, was quite ahead of everyone else. You look at sort of what we were producing at this stage. I think that's a lot more modern looking, certainly larger.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It is. But yeah, it's terrific.
I approve. You've done exceedingly well choosing that one. Actually, I didn't. I'll say it now. I don't think I've got. Let me double check my list, but there's nothing American on it of the remaining items. Or at all.
The rest of mine are all American, actually.
Well, yeah, actually, we know that you are a closet American, aren't you?
We have established that before, haven't we? Yes.
Yes, it's well documented, which is fine. It's fine.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah, I can't fault you on that. It's a striking looking thing.
Oh, it's a big old thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it is, and it will have had what we would deem an enormous V8, but I'm assuming small block by their standards.
I would think. Was also available as a station wagon.
Oh,
with all the wood on the sides. And
just going to ask if there's some wood paneling involved.
Yeah, wood paneling, white walls.
Oh, lovely.
More chrome than anyone has a right to. And it's all there, really. Yeah, split screen on that.
Wonderful choice.
Yeah. So yes, if I had to narrow it down, I'd probably go for the station wagon, actually, because I think that's an amazing looking thing.
Yes, that is. I can't fault you on that. That is just wonderful. Excellent choice.
That's proper Americana.
That is proper Americana. Right. I'm staying in Italy for my next choice.
Bella.
Oh, yeah, just a bit.
Yeah.
And what I've gone for is basically the car that started it all. The Ferrari 166 Mille, if you would prefer the full title.
Of course.
From 1948. It's basically where it all began for Ferrari.
Oh, look at that. That's naughty, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, they're as simple as that.
It's a very simple design, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, design. There were earlier, there was the 125 and the 159, but everyone remembers the 166. And those models that I mentioned are only a year apart, so both of those were 47, and the 166 was 48.
Developing fast.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah, really, really lovely little thing. In terms of engine, really interesting. It had, obviously, V12.
Of course.
However, tiny capacity.
Okay.
It was a 2-litre V12. Which, as we've learned before, we could have worked out ourselves, because the Ferrari numbering system, so 166 is the bore capacity of the single cylinder. So you multiply that by the amount of cylinders, and you get your engine capacity.
Ah, okay, very good.
There you go.
That's proper pervy. That bit of information.
Do you know what? Someone I overheard at Le Mans someone try and dish out that bit of information, and I thought I was almost about to go, oh, well done. But actually, they got it catastrophically wrong, because they'd heard about it for Ferraris and then tried to quote it relating to a Ford GT. And they went, oh yeah, 289. That's the size of the cylinder. Yeah. No, mate, that's cubic inches.
Yeah.
Back in your box. Ain't out perving me, dickhead.
Oh dear, no, only applies to these. Very good. Yeah, I'm just looking at some pictures of that. That's a really brilliant looking thing, isn't it?
So simple, but I love the fact that these this 40s into 50s and the 60s cars, even the stuff that we get all sort of misty eyed over. I know you don't as much, but like the 250s,
Yeah,
all their various guys, you go, that's still a tiny V12 in the grand
yeah,
scheme.
it is, isn't it? You would think that is ridiculous by today's standards. It's like, well, why would you bother?
But yeah, absolutely lovely.
Fantastic. That's a good looking thing.
That is. Yeah, go on then. What you got now?
Something that's not what you would term good looking, but massively significant. And I don't think any list of this sort would be complete without mentioning the Ford Model T.
Oh, that's a good shout. I hadn't even considered it. Well done, you.
It's just, it's kind of where everything started, isn't it? Introduced on the 1st of October 1908, and the world's first mass-produced vehicle.
Yep.
Available famously only in black, although it is now debated as to whether he ever said the famous line, any colour you want, as long as it's black.
Yeah.
Built in colossal numbers and in a huge number of different variants. You could have it long wheelbase, short wheelbase, hard top, convertible, pickup truck, van. It was just, and Ford have continued that, haven't they? I mean, you look at the number of variants of the Transit these days.
Yeah, true. And it's something that you can see in other cars of this era. I'm not going to name one that I know does it almost identically, because I'm going to name it shortly.
Very, built to a price.
Of course,
built for simple manufacturing. The car, the first people's car, really, the first vehicle for the masses. It did it very well. It predates things like, what we would consider the correct pedal layout,
yes,
and things like that. But and apparently driving one was pretty awful, but and nobody knew any different.
Got to start somewhere, haven't we?
Got to start somewhere, and I think one thing that Henry Ford did famously say when he was I think challenged at one time in its early production as to whether something like this was really necessary, and he said, people saying, well, the public didn't really want this, and he said, yeah, but if you'd asked the public what they wanted, they'd have said a faster horse. You can't go by what the people think they want.
No, he's right.
Sometimes they have to be led forwards, and by the time I love this statistic. By the time it went out of production in May of 1927, half the cars in the world were Ford Model Ts.
No messing about that. No, he was onto something.
More than 15 million were built and sold during its very long production, and it was largely unchanged throughout that time. They did, of course, make improvements to it, but another famous quote from Henry Ford, which I love, he said, there's no use trying to pass a Ford because there's always another one just ahead.
Yeah,
and in those days there were. It was like every fifth car on the road.
He's all over the quotes, isn't he?
He was, well, people love quoting him, don't they? But
they do.
It couldn't go without mention. I don't think it was so significant, and it's a manufacturer that we still hold dear today, although they do made some questionable decisions of late. But
yes, knobheads.
Yes, but a massively significant vehicle. Moticar, the motor car, and there it is. Glorious.
Yeah. Good choice. I would like to maybe. I don't know whether I would sort of say this was the British equivalent, but the reason I put it on my list because it sold in big numbers, perhaps not as big as a Model T. My granddad had one as his first car, and that would be the Austin 7.
Yeah, I would say you could make a case for that being the British equivalent. Yeah.
Slightly later in the timeline, it was made between 1923 and 1939. Nearly 300,000 were sold, I think.
Yeah,
and
I mean, nothing like the Model T's numbers, but
no.
Yeah.
But like the body styles, for instance, there was the Tourer, the Saloon, the Cabriolet, the Coupe, the van. They
built very much on similar principles to the Ford. Yeah.
So not only is it cool in that respect, and it's the fact that I got the family ties there because he always spoke so fondly of it because it was that that level of independence.
Yeah, and that was hard to come by.
It was, and bear in mind the production run of the Austin 7s ended in 1939. He didn't get his until late into the 40s.
Right.
Because he was born in 1923. Then he was in the war.
I'll do it.
He was a soldier in the war. And then by the time that was all done and dusted, and I think by the time that he was out of the army and back doing sort of civvy work, it was, I think, sort of 48, 49 by the time he sort of had a bit of a family and decided to get a vehicle.
That would seem reasonable. Yeah.
But he was well placed to run the car because he was very mechanically minded in the army. He was in the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. So
nice.
He's
knew his
stuff. So not only could he have a car, he could keep it going without any real issues.
Yeah, again, important in those days.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the one reason why when you get if I ever got sort of a bit of money in the pocket and I've got myself a car that I really want. I mean, you get your family car, but the toy.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If there was then a bit of additional money, I would love to put one of these in the garage.
Yeah, like you say, not your sort of thing at all, really, but for sentimental reasons. Oh, it's not going to take up a lot of room, is it? You could probably pop it on a shelf.
Yeah. It's close quarters in there, so I would.
Yes.
I'd love to get one because I believe he had the. I think he had the Tourer from the photos that I saw. I'd love to get one.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
But yeah, one day, because they're not as ludicrously priced as you might think.
Oh, not at all. No, and if you get one that maybe needs a little bit of work, even less so. Yeah. I mean, you could probably buy enough parts to build your own, to be honest.
Probably could. What I would say is that one is just in second place. The remaining item on my list, it did, after much deliberation, that hit number one. So,
okay.
Where are we in your list now?
I've got two more, and I'm going to leave my choice until the end.
Okay, so if you do your one remaining one before your choice, then that links us in well, then, doesn't it?
Well, I am going to a manufacturer again from America, and I'm going with Duesenberg.
Okay.
No list for me of this nature cannot contain them. American racing and luxury car manufacturer based in Indianapolis, founded by Fred and August Duesenberg in 1920. And they produced some very clever and very extravagant stuff.
And enormous.
and enormous. There are 2 at the Haynes Museum, as you know, and they are colossal.
They almost need their own building.
Yes, they do. They are enormous. I am going to narrow it down to one particular model.
Yes, please do.
Which is from prototype appeared in 1927, but the first cars weren't delivered to customers until 1929, and that was their Model J.
Yes, I'm aware of this one.
You are aware of this one, yes. Now, specifically, there were a number of different models of it, and it was quite a powerful car for its day, capable of a top speed of 118 miles per hour.
I wouldn't want to do that in it.
No, that's a wild ride.
Yeah, that's not for me.
No. They'd put one of their 1920s racing engines in it, which was manufactured by Cord, who were another American manufacturer of the time. I think there's one of those at Haynes as well. 265 brake horsepower, which again for the time is pretty beefy. Yeah, absolutely. But there's a special edition which actually is mentioned on the Wikipedia page, but also singled out elsewhere. The J. Walker Legrande Torpedo Phaeton.
Bloody hell.
There's a lot going on in there. But it was, I believe, the most powerful car they made to that point. And
I'm assuming they've got a bit of supercharging history, haven't they?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, they liked a bit of that.
Yes, they did. They were a racing company, so they were all about the engines. Hence the kind of specs we're talking about for this one. But then they also wanted to offer luxury that was unrivaled, and certainly the models. You know, I mean, this one's a smaller car. It's like a sports car, if you like. But some of their larger models, they did a Model X. They did, which has also been used again for an enormous vehicle, and a number of others. But that was the Model J was the one that I picked out as being the one that I was drawn to.
Very good. I approve.
I thought you might.
Yeah, I do.
Go and have a look at pictures of Duesenbergs, because they really are quite extraordinary.
They really are. They're just off the charts, really, aren't they?
Yeah, off the charts. I forget which exact models are at the Haynes Museum, but there are 2. One enormous, one colossal. If you wish to see one in the metal, they are quite extraordinary.
Yes, they are. Right. So I've got one left, and it's my number 1.
Me too.
No real surprise, I don't think, for me.
Can I guess?
Yeah, you go for it.
Is it by any chance a Porsche 356?
It is, yes. Yeah, it's that predictable.
It would apparently, yeah.
Yep. But there you go. It's barring the odd prototype, it is the car that started it all.
Yeah, I suppose it is really. Yeah.
It's. I mean, when you see them these days, you go, "That's such a cool thing." It still is. It was then. It still is.
It still is. Yeah, there's no arguing with that. Yeah,
it doesn't. They're such elegant things. They're in their. When they're completely original, they look amazing. People modify the crap out of them, and they still look amazing. And you go,
they do.
And you go, well, to fit in with the rules, we'd have to have a really early one, so it'd be a 1100 engine. So it'd be but
rear engine, don't they?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's very Beetle based. but
I didn't. I was hoping we wouldn't get through this without mentioning Beatles. Yeah.
Well, it's without the Beatle, that wouldn't have been a thing.
No, it wouldn't. That's true. Yes. Yes.
But I would have one in a heartbeat. It would be so
absolutely
so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. They turn up in movies a lot.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, yes. But,
and when we were at Le Mans Classic, there were just quite a few, and it wasn't even overload. I stopped and looked at every single one. I mean, Ben was bored senseless, but I don't care.
Did he not get that?
He's not really a Porsche person. Although I did have him at the end of the trip. He could tell all of the different 911 variants.
You schooled him in the ways.
I did, and I've tested him since, and he still retained it. And he said, "You realise that's taking up valuable space now." He said, "We're heading into our 40s now. We can't be using up space willy nilly."
No, something else has been shoveled out to make room for that. Yes,
but
trouble is, you don't know what.
No, it won't become apparent until you really need something. But
yes, it'll be gone.
That's
very good.
Yeah, and I think
I knew you'd choose one of those. I knew you would.
I think if I was getting really pervy about it, I'd be torn about having either a black or a silver, but either color would be a red interior to go with it.
Yeah, good choice. Yeah,
but yeah, that'd be me. Right, go on then, because I thought you were going to pick an XK120. So I'm intrigued.
It would be harder to get further from the XK120 for my final choice. You'll kick yourself when I say probably.
Oh, probably.
But and I will. This is one thing I can't. This is one talk about for a bit, but produced from 1941 until 1945, it is the US Army Willys Jeep.
Oh, bollocks.
See, told you. And it is Willys, not Willis, as people like to say these days. It never was called Willis, it is Willys.
Yeah, it is the funny word.
I will not mispronounce it.
I am very disappointed in myself.
The car that won World War II, as General Eisenhower, later President Eisenhower, said.
I see. Yes, I mean that's debate, but yeah.
Built in colossal numbers, just under 650,000 were produced.
Bloody hell!
360,000 produced by Willys Overland, and just under 278,000 produced under license by Ford, because the US Army needed more and more of them, and Willys Overland were at production capacity. So the government handed the license over to Ford and said, you better start making these as well, which they did. Again, design very simple, built to a price, easy to repair in the field, tough, go anywhere, do anything. Just a fantastic, functional vehicle. And I just think that I don't know why. I can't explain it. I've always loved them.
You do. You it's all right. You don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
I think you're well within your rights there.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It was used in the end all over the world, but obviously massively by the US Army and others during World War II. Just looking at some more details here, the General George Marshall, Chief of Staff for the US Army during World War II, called it America's greatest contribution to modern warfare. In 1991, the Willys MB Jeep was designated as an International Historic Mechanical Engineering Landmark by the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. It's as significant as the Model T Ford, potentially even more so. It's debated where the name Jeep came from. They think that was a bit of slang because it was never officially called that. It was the original design was done by a company called Bantam, and it was just known as the Bantam. And then the ones, but Bantam never put it into production. Willys Overland put it into production, and it was just known as the Willys MB. And then Ford called it the Ford GPW. So it was never officially called Jeep. They're not sure where that name came from. They think it might have been an amalgamation of general purpose vehicle. It was known by the Army as the quarter-ton light reconnaissance vehicle, so no reference to it there. Another theory is that it was named after a cartoon character of the time called Eugene the Jeep, who could go anywhere and do anything.
Okay.
And they think it may have come from that. But after the war, Jeep was trademarked and, of course, taken on by General Motors and became a company that obviously still exists today.
Yeah, we still have it, yeah.
And you can still see elements of the original Willys Overland even in the modern-day Wrangler.
It's still there. That's that design language. It's sort of akin to Defenders, 911s. It's still there. It's that thing that you can see the lineage, can't you?
You can see the lineage, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, the iconic vehicle of World War II. Really, it's in all the movies, all the TVs. You know, it's everywhere, and they were everywhere after the war. Of course, they were just abandoned all over the place in all their various forms. There was, modified versions. They carried weapons and supplies. There was even amphibious versions of them, known as the Seep, which is quite. But. And of course, Ford, I believe, because Ford built the amphibious versions again under license, and they called it the Seep. There was 12,700 amphibious versions were built by Ford, but of course they were just strewn all over Europe after the war, and most famously perhaps, was the inspiration for the original Land Rover. As the boss of Land Rover had one, an ex-US Army World War II Jeep that he had on his farm, and loved it so much. We need to make something like this. So the original Land Rover was inspired by the Willys Jeep, but I just think it's brilliant, and I have had the privilege some years ago of driving one.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember you saying.
Yeah, only sort of round and round a yard, not for very far. And
still counts.
It still counts, absolutely. Very uncomfortable. But
I can imagine it's a little bit unforgiving on the posterior.
Yeah, yes. Not good in the seat department. 3-speed manual. Top speed, I think, of 25 miles an hour.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, but of course that's not. It's not a racing car. That's not what it was for.
No.
But it sort of inspired the entire 4-wheel drive off-road category of vehicle. It's where it all started. It's where it comes from.
I think we've had a lot of those today, haven't we?
Yeah, we've gone back to our origins with a lot of these.
Liked it.
So, and that would be my choice.
What an interesting two-car garage we've ended up with there.
Very, yes, very. Both quite small vehicles.
I think
opposite ends of the automotive scale, really.
But that's it. I mean, depending on what's called for a given weekend, I think one or another.
Do anything with those two.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well,
absolutely. Do anything with those.
To be honest, if I wasn't so dense and figured that one out, we could have probably wrapped this up almost immediately, wouldn't we? But yeah, there we go. That's
probably, but this has been more fun.
It has been a lot of fun, and I think we've learnt a little bit. But we will be needing, let's face it, quite a small double garage to fit those two in.
We're not going to need a lot of space for those two, no.
No,
absolutely. My choice, if it goes wrong, you can mend it with a bit of string and a hammer. Yours, perhaps a bit more precise tinkering.
I wouldn't even go that far, to be honest. It's not complex engineering under those.
No.
But yeah, okay. Nope. So I like where we've arrived.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah,
I'll take that. But yeah, but anyone else who's we know that quite a lot of our listeners are in and around our age, so it would be interesting to see what they feed back with. And as we discussed last week, Chris, it would be wonderful if you could let us know what you think your favourite would be, because this is your area of expertise.
I would be very interested to know that. Do let me know, and we will discuss it. Yeah,
we'll
very
report
interested.
Back next week. Yeah, that's a good place to end it. We'll have a decision from a expert of this era next week.
And let us know what you think of our choices and what you would have chosen.
Definitely. Yeah, sounds good.
Well, I think that's probably enough of that for this week. Check us out on all the various social medias and things. Thank you very much for listening.